Okay, good morning, everyone. We're going to get started. I know that we have a number of people still joining us, but I hope that you all enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend. If you're like me, you might have been online watching what was going on in the Capitol because our elected officials were working very hard all weekend long till wee hours of the morning. We didn't get our SB 7 bill passed, but we're going to hear about that today. We're going to get an update on that, but we did have a lot of things that did pass, and we're going to get an update on that from Representative Click today. And we have some information to share with you there. But I also want to talk about the survey. I'll go in more detail about that later, but I want to say thank you to all of you that have taken it. We've had about 200, almost 200 people that have taken it. And what's surprising to me is that it was a very close call on either doing weekly or bi-weekly. And right now we're going to be having it 2 times a month. And we will be figuring out the 2 days that those will be, but it is going to be at 7 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it just amazes me how many people really want to participate and that they're willing to get up this early and to be a part and listen and learn and be educated. So anyway, and it really makes our team, that's Bisa, Martin, Shirley Martinez, and Pat. We had no idea this would grow like this, and it was an idea that came about. And what, 16 weeks, is that right, Shirley? Isn't that what you told me? Or 16 meetings that we have had?
At least.
And it's just incredible how many people are showing up and are participating. So thank you for that. Well, let's get started. We've got a lot to share. This is our wrap up of the session. We know that there are other things going to be happening here in the near future. And so we've got some good action items for you today. So I hope you stay on. I want to be off by 8 o'clock because we need to go to another call. The officials, SREC officials meeting starts at 8 a.m. Is that right? 8 or 9? 8. Isn't that right, Dion? Okay, so anyway, so let's get going. What I'm going to do is we've got a panel. So we have Dion Starnes, who is with the SREC and the Election Integrity Committee. She is that chairperson, did incredible work being down with the Capitol. As many of you I can see, I know that Tanya did from SREC, as Karen Marshall was sleeping in the galleries. Many of you were there. Sean, I just have heard from so many, but Dion was one that has a lot of information and I've stayed connected with almost daily. And so we're going to have her start off, and then we're going to have a report from Senator Hughes, Representative Chairman Click, and then Representative Jeton. So let's go ahead, Dion. I'm going to let you start off this panel and the report, and then we will go on into the next person. So take it away, Dion.
Okay, I tell you what, I think I'm going to leave the nitty-gritty details to the experts that actually lived it down there, but I do want to give our guys a shout out. They did a phenomenal job holding together and fighting for these bills. And I cannot begin to tell y'all how much I appreciate them and the work that they did. So if you see them or if you want to send them an email thanking them, they deserve it. Because I have been there in sessions where a bill is filed and that's all they do is file the bill, right? And these guys actually fought for it under some extraordinary circumstances down there. So guys, I really do appreciate it. And I'm going to turn it over to them, the experts.
Well, thank you, Dion. I agree. You are 100% the work that they've done, and then also putting us also coming on and sharing with us every single week to add that to their agenda or their schedule is pretty impressive. And I know we're all very thankful for that. As has Senator Hughes gotten on yet? Not yet. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Representative Stephanie Click, but I just want to share something before we go there. She was unable to be with us 2 weeks ago and planned on it. And she had her light on early in the morning, 5:30, and her neighbor came over to ask for help because her husband has been in hospice and she needed help that morning. And I'm to have a friend that would come and take that time and that and to go spend that time with the two of them until the family could come was so important. And so Stephanie, thank you for spending time with that neighbor. And we all understand that, but I just wanted to say, I know you had all intentions on being here, but we understand. Then I would have done the same thing, to be there with a neighbor to get them through some really tough times. So Stephanie, do you want me to bring up to share what we had talked about for you to start out with?
That would be great.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Okay, here it is. Okay, got it. Uh-oh. There we go. Here we go. Do you see it there?
I do.
Oh, good. Okay, now I got to figure out, how to go. How do I get over to the next one? Oh, there we go. Okay, you tell me when you want me to move to the next slide.
Okay. Well, all the graphics and the slides in this presentation are the things that we've accomplished this legislative session. Tony, and you might want to go ahead and go to the budget because that is the constitutionally required thing that we accomplish each and every session. One of the things that I'm really proud of that we did, and it's not necessarily reflected in that graphic, is we've been trying for every session since I've been in the legislature, and this was my 5th session, to get caps on our budgeting process, population plus growth, those limits included into our budgeting process. And that passed this session. We've been trying to do that, as I said, for 5 sessions, and that finally was done this session. The summary here, 34.2 billion involves healthcare in our state of some variety. The overall budget is about 257 billion for our biennium. Big budget, but we're a huge state. Tony Ann, can you go to the next slide?
Sure, you bet.
2 pro-life victories. Normally in a typical session, we pass one pro-life bill. This session, we passed 2 very important bills. The heartbeat bill, Senate Bill 8. If a heartbeat is detected, the baby is protected. That has already been signed into law by the governor. We also passed House Bill 1280, which is a pre-ban on abortions in the event that Roe v. Wade decision is struck down. It would ban all abortions in the state of Texas. That has also been sent to the governor and signed. Those bills came through my committee, and it is really interesting if you've watched any of the committee hearings. Some of the witnesses on the Democrat side, they are committed to there being no restriction on abortions whatsoever. It's unbelievable that we actually have folks that think that there should be no restrictions whatsoever. So that's a big pro-life victory. Two major bills in one session. Tony Ann, can you go to the next slide? Constitutional carry. That is also something, all 5 terms that I've been in the legislature, we've attempted to do. This session, we got it done. We also passed House Bill 2622, which names Texas a Second Amendment sanctuary state. There were also bills passed, HB 1500, gun and ammo store protections. There was also some redefining of the holster statute in House Bill 2112. And House Bill 957 removes the federal restrictions on firearm suppressors that are manufactured in Texas. Believe it or not, the CDC actually recommends suppressors because it protects the hearing, the ears from damage. So House Bill 957, believe it or not, the CDC actually has recommendation on the use of suppressors on guns. Tony Ann, can you go to the next slide?
Can you see it?
Yes, I do. Religious freedom. That was a priority, and there were several bills that addressed this. House Bill 1239 ensures that no church or house of worship will be closed by government overreach. We saw this again and again during the pandemic, and this bill will make it clear that that will not happen again in the future. SB 581 preserves private property owners' right to religious expression if they happen to live in a homeowners association. Many of the homeowners associations have restricted people's ability to put a cross out during the Easter period or other religious expression symbols outside your home. Senate Bill 581 makes it clear that they do not have the ability to do that. House Bill 525 confirms that religious organizations and their activities are essential services, including during a declared state of disaster. You know, I don't know about you, but I consider churches spiritual hospitals, and they have been shuttered during the pandemic and at a time when people needed their spiritual support the greatest. Also, SJR 27. In the November constitutional amendment election, voters will have an opportunity to weigh in to strengthen religious freedom by changing the state constitution to include a ban on local officials closing houses of worship. It'll be very important for folks to vote for that in November. Tony Ann, can you go to the next slide? Telemedicine. You know, during the pandemic, we learned that we've got to find new ways of delivering healthcare in our state. And telemedicine, although it's been around for some time, the pandemic has really forced us to utilize that technology to deliver healthcare. You know, in some of our rural areas of the state where there are no medical providers, telehealth may be the only access to care that the citizens in those communities have. So we did a sweeping telehealth overall bill, HB 4, that passed and has gone to the governor. Also, HB 2056, that was actually my bill, that deals with teledentistry practices. and that is on its way to the governor. Some of the other things that we do, we hear a lot. People complain about the cost of healthcare, and HB 18 will help us lower prescription drug cost for folks in Texas. There are a lot of individuals that have high deductible plans, or they do not have prescription drug coverage. Well, HB 18 will help address that by putting forth some funds in a revolving fund so that we can make available prescription rebates to the citizens of Texas. We've also passed a number of bills, not just SB 1137, but some others as well, that make pricing transparency the standard here in Texas. You know, no other product do you purchase and find out the cost of that service after you've already received it. If you went to have your car repaired, you would generally have an idea as to what that would cost before you agreed to those services. But healthcare is different. You don't find out until after you've consumed it. Tony Ann, can you go to the next slide? Education funding, $46.5 billion for Texas public schools. Last session, we had put some additional funding in our schools, and that funding was maintained this session. Tony Ann, can you go to the next slide? A lot of bills having to do that would help businesses, particularly small businesses, regarding lawsuit protections due to the pandemic. There are also some stopgap solutions to ensure Texas unemployment fund remains solvent. You know, there were a lot of people that needed that during the pandemic, but it can be a real drain on businesses if they had employees that had to use those funds during the pandemic, so that it's not a hit to the overall cost of doing business in Texas for those small businesses. There's also Senate Bill 1438 that closes a loophole that allows local elected officials to raise property taxes above the 3.5% rollback rate without voter consent during a pandemic. There were a number of large counties that were already planning to use the exception of the pandemic to exceed that 3.5% cap or rollback rate. We've passed a bill that makes it so that when people are hurting the most, they're not going to see their property taxes, you know, go up above the rollback rate. Going to the next slide, Tony Ann. We also worked on ERCOT reform, the power grid. Snowmageddon definitely brought into focus that there are things that we need to do regarding electric delivery here in the state. Senate Bill 3 reorganized how we manage our power grid. SB 2 targeted ERCOT reform. And there were a number of bills on the whole power grid. HB 7 ensures homeowners, builders, and businesses have the ability to decide how to best meet their energy needs by preserving consumer choice. There is also HB 1510 that provides funding mechanisms necessary to ensure winterization of the Texas power grid. Is there another slide, Tony Ann? Great.
Yeah.
You know, although Senate Bill 7 was not passed due to the Democrats walking out on an important deadline, there were a number of things that were done regarding election integrity, including adding $1.4 million in reimbursement to counties to retrofit or purchase new auditable voting machines. And one of the other things that we've learned over the years is training is so important for those county election officials. So we increased the training budget by $1.4 million. Poll watcher status. That became a huge issue back in the November election. There were a lot of poll watchers that were not allowed to be in polling places. HB 1128 clarifies who may lawfully be present at a polling station, an early voting ballot board, and in the central count area. You may have heard a lot of the tech giants were giving grants to some of our counties here in Texas to allow them to do things like in Harris County drive-through voting. We refer to those as Zuckerberg bucks or Zuckerbucks. House Bill 2283 actually prohibits elections administrator from accepting large donations from private individuals. A lot of the questionable things that were done in Harris County during the last election were funded by some of these private donations. House Bill 1264 makes the process of removing a deceased voter from the voter rolls more efficient. And finally, House Bill 574 increases penalties for fraudulent activities in elections. That bill would enhance the penalties of several offenses from misdemeanors to felonies to appropriately punish individuals who commit voter fraud. That law takes effect September 1. Is there another slide, Tony Ann?
Not sure, but I think that, nope, that's it. So the just incredible information that you shared there. I'm wondering whether or not, do you know the website by heart, what that is?
We'll get it for you and put it in the chat here.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
I just put it in the chat.
Great, thank you.
Yes, because this is, you can sign up. I get these, I think it's weekly. Anyway, it's a lot of great information. I thought this is so important to share. And so thank you, Chairwoman, for taking that time and going over that. Because I think, as this is a wrap up, that was important. Now we want to focus just on the election integrity, which we ended up having. You gave a summary of things did happen for the election, for election integrity, but now we got to talk about SB 7 and where all that went. So let me see if, has our senator gotten on yet? I didn't see him roll in there. Dion, did you heard back from him yet? That's not like him because
I have not, sorry.
No, okay, that's not a problem. So then I'm sure we'll be getting
I think
on.
she's getting me, somebody's getting me water. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Tony Ann.
No problem. So Representative Jatan, you are going to put you on there right now. You, as he was on the conference committee, and put in a lot of time and energy. Maybe you can give us a wrap up on the election integrity, SB 7, how that all came down. And so just give us a summary, because I'm sure there are going to be a number of questions that will be asked also. And where do we go from here? So please take it over, Representative.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for all your hard work over the last several months. I know we've all put in a lot of time and effort to get some of these election integrity bills through. And of course, SB 7 was the bill that we all spent so much time on. And it was very unfortunate to see it fall apart in the final hours of session. And so I want to make sure that I leave time to, address concerns and questions. There's probably a lot of them at this point. I can just tell you, as we've gone through this process, I know the Senate spent a lot of time put together some good bills on the Senate side. We worked hard on the House side, and what we came together on out of that conference committee, I believe, was a very good bill. It was a bill that I was proud of, that I think was defendable, that when the general public actually looked at the bill, they understood the intentions of it and what was going to be accomplished by it. And so it was very unfortunate to see what happened at the end. And there's believe it or not, a lot of Democrats that we got to talk to at the very end, that if this thing didn't become so partisan and we didn't have a president tweeting about the bill, not Trump, Biden, then I think that we probably would have had different results come out of this, because a lot of people, when they looked at the bill, a lot of Democrats, when they looked at the bill, understood that this was a positive thing for voters and for Texans. And so we did one of the claims we got from the Democrats was that we never sat down with them and we never worked with them. I was in those negotiations and discussions, spent countless hours going through the bill, explaining every part of it, and making ourselves, I made myself available to anyone in the House that wanted to talk about what was in that bill, why it was there, and any concerns they had with it. And and despite that, we still ended up with them deciding to flee at the end. And that was a very unfortunate thing. I know that some are claiming that is a procedural move. I completely disagree. We have rules in place. There's an expectation that every member of the legislature, you're elected to show up, engage, debate, and eventually vote on these bills. And there are rules in place to remedy if there is an abandonment of your position. You do a call to the House and DPS goes and picks them up. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough time to go round them all up and bring them back, and also the optics of that doesn't look great. It was what they wanted. It was a little bit of a gamble that they took as well, because for them to come back in handcuffs was the optics that they wanted, and it would have been worse for us. And so the good thing is we do have we have a Republican governor that wants to see this come through. We have a lieutenant governor and the speaker that want to see this bill passed. And we will have a special session and we will get this accomplished still. And they've delayed this thing, but we're coming back, and we're going to work with the Senate closely. I look forward to working with Senator Hughes and everyone else to make sure that we are planned and ready to go before special session starts, and have a plan of action how we're going to accomplish it during that 30-day special session. But they can't leave the whole 30 days. We're gonna make this work. And so I'll kind of leave it at that, and more than happy to answer questions, and I'm sure there's plenty of them.
Okay. Something that as you were talking, a thought came into my head, because I saw a note that popped up about the majority. One of the things that we can look at, Representative, as Karen is preparing for the questions, we can go after some more seats and be a supermajority, and then be able to not have this problem at all next time. So
right, because one of the things to keep in mind is quorum requirements 100 members, and so we don't have 100 Republicans. Love to have 100 Republicans. Love to see that happen in 2022. But with that being the quorum requirements, we don't have enough to just force everything through. And the reason they left was because they knew we had the votes, and they were willing to take that gamble and abandon their positions and break quorum to prevent us from passing this bill through in the final hours.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, unless did the senator, did I see him pop on? No. Okay, we'll wait for him. When he comes on, somebody could give me a thumbs up on that or a heads up on it. I appreciate it. Karen, now you get to put these guys with. So we have Representative Jeton, we have Representative Click, and I see Donna Davidson there too, and we can always pull her in because she's got an awful lot of knowledge about all this too. So we have some great people to answer some of these questions. So will you go ahead and start?
All right. Representative Jeton, Chairman Click, and Counselor. the first question that came up today was, what can be done to prevent the Democrats from walking out of the special session?
I think I've addressed some of that. We can do a call to the House and lock the doors and drag them all back in. You know, it's not a desired move. You know, we've only gone through this a few times in the last several decades. I think the most recent was back in 2013 when redistricting was happening. They fled up to Oklahoma. And so we have seen this in the past, and I know there's a lot of discussions about how we're going to handle this for the special session. We'll have a plan before then.
All right. And the next question, Ferrando asks, why didn't the Republican representatives work across the branches and start with our priorities?
Well, one of the things that I would say is Ledge Council this session was horrible. And even though you may have had something in drafting before session began, you've got filing deadlines and you file your bills when they are drafted from Ledge Council. And that doesn't all neatly fit in one batch of bills. So, you know, many of those bills were filed early as far as getting them drafted, but you didn't always get them back at the same time.
All right. And the next question is, why do bills die in committee?
Bills can die in committee because there's not sufficient support of the members of the committee.
Okay. The next question is, Governor Abbott signed HB 574 yesterday. You kind of addressed this. Is he expected to sign all of the remaining election integrity bills passed during the regular session?
I've not heard of any that he disagrees with, but you know, that's certainly his prerogative as to what he does on them. But I do believe that he would be supportive of most of those.
Okay. Representative Chaton, SB 1589 relating to the enforcement of laws relating to elections. It was sent to the House Elections Committee and never heard. What happened?
1589, I believe this is the one that has to do with the elections marshals and injunctive relief. I know the injunctive relief part was added to SB 7. Some of the bills that didn't make it out of committee were likely because we ended up incorporating them within the SB 7, the omnibus bill, or it didn't have sufficient support to get out of committee.
All right. And Kurt Hyde asks, why didn't the election committee just pass SB 7 as passed by the Senate and send it to the House for a vote?
I think we all kind of agree that, well, there were issues, there were concerns with SB 7, parts of it, that we wanted to address, but we also wanted to add some things to SB 7. And I think, you know, this is part of the legislative process. And I think that we came out with a bill that combined the two, that made it better. And I'm very proud of the product that we came up with at the very end. But that's how this works. The House and Senate grind it out, and you end up with a bill that we finish off with. And so, and I just remind you that if the Democrats didn't walk out, SB 7 would be done and on the governor's desk. And so there's not one thing you can point at necessarily as to why we're in this position we're in right now. But I don't know that just passing through SB 7 the way that the Senate passed it through would have changed the results.
All right. Also for Representative Chaton, what happened to SB 1340 relating to voter qualifications and registration? It was left pending in House elections.
1340.
Voter qualification and registration was what it dealt with.
This was Buckingham's bill, fairly lengthy bill. I think there was parts of it that people could get on board with. The struggle with large bills like that, especially with getting out of committees, is there becomes components of it that aren't agreeable. And I'm not certain that it was because there was not enough support, but the sheer size of that bill made it difficult. And I'm sure we addressed a lot of that stuff within SB 7 as well.
Passing an election omnibus bill is probably one of the hardest bills that to pass. Not only does it become an attractive target for unfavorable amendments, but it is a hard bill to pass.
All right. And also for Representative Chaton, HB 3715 relating to the acceptance of donations by a county commissioner's court for the performance of certain functions was never heard in elections. What happened to that one?
There were several bills dealing with what we call Zuck bucks. And so any of those, and we did finally pass one on both the House and Senate, and it's on the governor's desk now if he hasn't already signed it. So I think that one's Noble's bill, and we passed something similar to it.
All right. Will the same strategy be used in special session, i.e. pass individual bills and then pass an omnibus bill that include the items that did not pass individually?
Well, I mean, this is a discussion that we're going to have with the Senate to make that decision. I personally would like to see this broken up, and I think one of the struggles, like Chairman Click said, is that when you get a target on one bill, it's a lot easier for them to fight against it. When you scatter it out, we would call them these rifle shot bills. We're able to get more of them through with a lot less debate. And it's funny, we passed House Bill 1128. That was my bill. That's a big part of SB 7. Very little issue. SB 598 passed almost unanimously. It was a big part of SB 7. And so there's just parts of it that you can pass through fairly easily individually. But this will be a discussion that we have to have with the Senate to see if we can find some agreement on how we push this through more efficiently during the special session.
All right. Why was SB 7 saved until near the end, Ferrando asks? It seemed to set the stage for the clock running out.
Well, SB 7, like Chairman Click said as well, this is election bills, omnibus bills are very difficult to push through. We did our best to get as much buy-in from, both in the conference committee to make sure that both the House and Senate were on board, but we also had, we also did our best to try and get the Democrats on board to avoid any major issues. And despite our best efforts at that, it didn't come out the way we wanted. And as a freshman, I don't know if this is the best policy to have, but I think you only get to do things like that once. And we learned from it, and we gave them an opportunity, and we'll go into a special prepared to know that they may do whatever they feel they need to try and kill this bill, and we'll be prepared.
All right. Why are there no public votes by committees when bills are killed? Why are there secret deaths of bills?
Well, there's the whole legislative session is designed to kill bills, to not pass. I mean, there was about 7,000 bills filed on the House side. We only passed through several hundred, up to 1,000 bills. The majority of them never get a vote, and it's for various reasons. And so I can't tell you specifically why every bill fails. Some of the ones that make it to committee, like the elections committee, either the author doesn't push for a committee hearing, or if there is this not a full vote, then or full support from the majority support from the committee, then the committees will not waste the time on trying to do votes and more discussion on it. And so there's various reasons why bills die, though.
All right, and Leslie Fitzpatrick wants to know, do you think there will be two special sessions, one to pick up the priorities like SB 7 and bail reform, and one for redistricting?
Yeah, the governor has publicly indicated that that is his intentions. We'll need to do the special session for redistricting and the COVID funding, and it'll have to be we won't have the final set numbers data from the census until September 30th, and so it'll have to happen after that. But I think his intentions that he's shared so far is that elections and that bail reform would happen sooner than that.
All right. Andrew Eller asks, do we have a summary of the bills that were heard in committee for election integrity that didn't make it through the process, but got added on to SB 7 from the conference committee report? As someone who has been in the committee hearing for most of this, it wound up in SB 7 conference committee report and was already heard in the House Elections or Senate State Affairs. So is there a summary somewhere of what got added in of the bills that didn't make it?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. You can see from the bill and kind of make connections. Some of it is that there's multiple bills that were filed that were very similar that ended up in SB 7, and so we don't have a full summary of all the bills that ended up getting included in SB 7.
All right. And what incentives do Democrats have to attend the special session?
They're elected to do it, first off. Besides being elected to do the job, I think there are parts of bail reform that they're in agreement with and would like to see accomplished, and I think that that's going to be part of the discussion as we go into this next special session, figuring out how we're going to approach this. And so I don't think we have all the answers yet.
So Karen, I'm going to ask you to do one last question, and then we're going to go into the action items because Dion has some, and I know she needs to get into a meeting. So if you could choose one more, please, or summarize some of them that have been coming in that might be similar.
All right, I'll just go in chronological order. As the next one that arrived was Chairman Click and Representative Chaton. What are your predictions on when a summer session will be called? And what other priorities besides election integrity do you think should be included in the special session?
I think that we would love to know when the special session is going to be called, because many of us are trying to figure out whether we're going to be able to do family events or vacation time, that sort of thing. But, I do believe that there will be multiple items on the call. We can't do redistricting until we get all the census data, and that is likely to be in the fall.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's, the governor's going to call it when he wants to do it. This pathway, he's indicated likely will be this summer, and the only thing he's indicated so far is elections and bail reform, and it'll be up to him to see if there's anything else that he gets added to that.
Okay, that was a good way to wrap up those questions and predictions of see what is in the future, but who knows how that will hold. Hopefully the governor will come out soon, and then we will all know it probably right about the same time. Dion, I hope that this is a good time to bring you on for the action items, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Okay, so I think that there's two things. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think there's two things that we need to be looking at doing right now. First of all, we need to let people know that we actually do appreciate the fact that the governor is calling a special session. So I would like for the first action item to be that we contact the governor and that we tell him that, number one, we appreciate that he is going to call a special session, and that we appreciate that he has indicated he is going to veto Article 10. I know that our State legislators are probably not happy with that, but it would be an additional incentive.
Can you,
Consider-
excuse me, Dion, I'm going to interrupt. Can you elaborate just a little bit on 10, please? Article 10.
Article 10, yeah, Article 10 is what funds the legislatures. So if he vetoes that, they've got to come back and deal with Article 10 before they, before September 1st, which is when the biennium starts. And so it would effectively take out part of the budget, and they would have to get that done because it is one of the constitutionally mandated items that they are required to take care of during session or special session. So, but I would also, when you are contacting the governor, two things: make sure that you are respectful, make sure that you tell him that you appreciate it, and ask him to do it sooner rather than later. We don't want to get it pushed, right? The second item is that when this special session happens, guys, we have got to show up to support our guys in droves. In 2013, when they were doing the special session for the pro-life omnibus bill, and the other side was showing up, right? The pro-abortion people showed up in droves, and we were nowhere to be seen. And our lawmakers were calling us going, guys, we have got to have some support down here. And so you need to be prepared, and you need to get your friends prepared, and anybody who cares about this issue, because let me tell you, the media is going to spin this so we don't want it, and the lawmakers are just doing it to their own benefit. And we all know that that's not true. And we have to go down there and show our support, not just to our guys, but to the media and to the world. So who knows, maybe we can get shirts that say hashtag one person, one vote. I don't know, but those are going to be my two action items, Tony Ann.
Well, and I think those are excellent action items to have. So as we wait to hear when that session is going to come, I will hope that you will block off time as soon as it's announced, that you will block off time to go down to the Capitol and participate. And at that point, what we will do is when that special session is called, we will schedule having our calls every week during that period of time. Until then, we'll probably go, twice a month. We'll take suggestions that people made on the call, and we will talk about different issues. I have something planned for our first one, which I think all of you will be excited as soon as I can get that confirmed. So watch out for that and to be prepared to participate. But let me say thank you so much to our representatives and to every single one of you, but especially Representative Jeton, Representative Click. I just can't thank you enough for all the work you've done. Yes, if we could give them a round of applause. I mean, incredible. And we know we can't be perfect, but we appreciate you listening and your willingness to come on this call and to be able to take questions, as Karen says, get on the hot seat, and that you're willing to do that. We know that you care about the grassroots, and so we thank you so much for that. So I know that there are a number of questions that came up afterwards. If I'll look at those, we can get some of them answered for all of you, or maybe at our next call, we can continue that. But anyway, I know that we're early today, but I appreciate us finishing a bit early because of the SREC is meeting. And if you want to, you can watch that. Today, I'm not sure what is going to be live. I've got the officials committee meeting at 8, but there'll be some on Facebook. They will Facebook live it, or they'll be streaming live. So join in and watch there too, because they're representing you. So we want to say thank you to our SREC, but they need to hear from you also to make sure that they are representing you And just as we talk to our representatives here, our elected officials, they are representing you, and you should be communicating with them. So, you know, again, thank you all. You'll be hearing from us shortly. I appreciate all those who took the survey and all the nice compliments. We appreciate it. Had no idea this was going to be so successful, but honored and that our team was able to create this and make this happen for all of you. So thank you to all of you. And we will be seeing each other again real soon. So thanks. Enjoy your weekend. Bye, everyone.
And everybody wanted me to just express thanks to Representative Chaton and Chairman Click, just how much we appreciate them sticking with us through all these morning meetings and for keeping us updated.
That's nice to hear that from the chat. Thank you, Karen, for sharing that. Thank you.
Thank y'all for all your work.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.